And here we are. Welcome back to the Redshirt Sophomore. We never sit out. We're your hosts, MD and CD, today, talking about week 7, man. We're coming off week 6. Penn State blowing it. Texas blowing it. We're seeing top 10 teams and early college football playoff contenders getting massacred week in and week out. I mean, your Clemson's at 2 losses. Texas is staring at 2 losses that they have, staring at potentially another loss coming this weekend, and we'll talk about that game. Penn State with 2 losses, staring at a third potentially down the road. I mean, it is this this playoff race is going to get very, very interesting, very, very fast. And depending on some of the results and that we're going to see in these games coming up this weekend, CD, I mean, you're going to start painting playoff pictures with teams that you did not originally take a look at, like early in the season or even the preseason.
No, and we've also had a couple legit title contenders emerge from what we thought, I think in the preseason, were maybe a tier or two below than title contenders were. Nice to see Texas Tech flexing their muscles. That talent that they invested in seems like it's very much worth it. You've got Ole Miss, right? How about Miami? How about Virginia? Maybe not a title contender. They're standing at the top of their conference as well as Duke. Like, it's early, I understand that, but we're starting to see some of this stuff kind of sift its way out. Who's free, who's not, who's battling injuries, who's not. Another great weekend. I think this weekend we have a fantastic slate. We were struggling trying to pick and narrow which games we want to be able to cover for you guys. We'll have a bunch of stuff. We'll have some best bets. We'll have our dirty dogs as always. So a lot of good stuff coming up this week. Appreciate you guys for joining in.
Yeah, like you said, we got 8 games. All right, we're going to talk about Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, Missouri, Ohio State, Illinois, Indiana, Oregon, Michigan, USC, Florida, Texas A&M, Kansas at Texas Tech, and then USF at North Texas. Friday Night Lights, game of the week over there. Gosh, I am fired up to talk about those guys. And yeah, there's ones that we missed too. There are like big time games that we missed. I'm sorry. Hopefully, you'll see some of those on the best bets. And hopefully, we'll get a chance to talk about those teams that we maybe missed out on in the future. But we had to narrow it down. Right? We only got so much time. Only got so many hours. Uh, so we're gonna give it all to you guys. And boy, 12 combined best bets, a Dirty Dogs segment, CD that's still hot, still steaming hot. I mean, cashing Arkansas State plus 370. You and I combined on the season over 12 units on the Dirty Dogs. And again, for those new listeners, underdogs that are double digit underdogs or more straight up. CD and I are 12 units up. Yeah, get hot and stay hot. All right, you ready to get into it, CD?
Let's do it.
Going to the Cotton Bowl. Oklahoma squares off against Texas. Vegas has this line 1.5 most places. We know that if John Mateer's playing, it's probably more likely at 5.5. Feels like from the updates we got from Venables that it's not looking likely that he's going to play this week. But who knows, right? Make Texas prepare for as many quarterbacks as possible. Still, I mean, look, I think Arch Manning hasn't been playing great, but I don't think he's been playing necessarily as bad as people think. Like Texas being favored in this game, CD. I feel like I mean, where are we at with this right now, CD?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got two teams heading in two different directions, right? Oklahoma, a team that we thought had a really tough September, and they did, right? Not only did you have Michigan and Auburn, you also had a random road game at Temple that you were never going to lose, but obviously that weird travel up to Philadelphia, not something you love to see in an out of conference game that you don't really need to. And they handled it well. Now you grinded out a couple wins against Michigan and Auburn, right? Mateer, that loss, that's gonna hurt, and that has hurting. Obviously, you have a guy who has experience, a guy who has played in this game. Michael Hawkins played in the same game a year ago, and Texas defense really shut him down. Now, I think Oklahoma's offense is a little bit better. I think you've got a couple receivers playing in this game for the Sooners this year that you didn't have last year. You hope to see your running game tick up a little bit. Jay Knott got more involved in the offense, which was great to see. He's going to need to have a big game, or at least someone in that backfield for Oklahoma to have a chance to move the football. But the reality is their defense is good enough to keep them in this football game. It really is. With the way Texas is not running the football, with the way Texas is struggling to consistently put drives together, take care of the football. I mean, Trey Reisner, 8 carries for 11 yards. That dude was slashing people, slashing defenses just a year ago with that very good veteran talented offensive line that Texas had in their semifinal run a year ago. And here we are, and they can't run the football when they need to. And I know you compare it to Ohio State, which is an elite defense, Florida, which has a very good front seven, but that's what you're going to go up against with this Oklahoma team. Can you run the football? Which team can establish that? Because I think neither team loves the way their quarterback's playing right now.
Yeah, and it's weird because Vegas has us, at like 1.5, which is like assumed that Mateer's playing. So it's like, okay, like the value, is that just taking Texas minus 1.5? But even then, like it's hard for me, like you said, to wrap my head around this Texas offense being super successful consistently against this Oklahoma defense, which I get. Auburn's offense isn't the best. Michigan's offense isn't the best relative to some of the other offenses in their respective conferences. But let's not like kid around and say that these are bad football teams. Like they're not bad football teams. Oklahoma just physically dominated them on the defensive side of the football. Like they look good. Their defensive line looks good. Their secondary is playing well. They're flying to the football. Brent Venables has his hands all over this defense, which has changed it dramatically. Even at 1.5 CD, and without the confidence that John Mateer's playing, I don't know if this is just recency bias or my eyes just like playing tricks on me or whatever. I kind of like Oklahoma in this spot here, even at 1.5. Obviously, would never touch this, would never sniff this on the best bets, but I think like for the purpose of us picking this, I think I'm gonna go with Oklahoma to cover, and then cover and win, I guess. But at 5.5, it would look a lot better. But we're picking this at 1.5.
So I think in order for Oklahoma to win this football game, especially if Mateer doesn't play, Venables and Ben Arbuckle are going to have generational type coaching, I think, in this game to keep you in this football game. I don't trust Michael Hawkins. I really don't. I've seen him enough. He wasn't super crazy efficient against Kent State. Not that they were opening up the playbook for him. They're going to let him do what he can do best, right? We saw Florida a week ago be able to run the football, and they kept Lagway upright. And they let the playmakers outside, Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown, guys like that make plays. That's going to be a similar formula for Oklahoma. But obviously rolling out Hawkins, cut the field in half, making 1 read, 2 read throws, and hopefully establishing the run. And maybe here I am like grasping on to what I thought of Texas coming into the season. I have a hard time seeing how Oklahoma wins this football game without John Mateer. With John Mateer, I'm all on Oklahoma. I think they win, and they probably win by a touchdown and maybe 10 points because they can move the football, I think, on Texas, and you make up some of that ground there. And I think the theme for this week, we'll see in a couple of games, maybe on my best bets, is like you have to have some kind of resilience in this sport. Texas has to be extremely upset. This has to have been the best week of practice they have had in Austin in a long time, right? That's what I'm banking on. Obviously, you don't need extra motivation to get fired to play Oklahoma if you're Texas, but boy, oh boy, man, do I expect them to come out ready to play. I expect, maybe a reset from Sark in this offense to figure out what's going on, and then giving them defense confidence to play with a lead, and obviously, pin their ears back and go up against Michael Hawkins and whatever Oklahoma tries to throw at them. I like Texas in this spot. We've seen this game go crazy in either direction, no matter who's favored, who's got the better quarterback, who's got the better roster coming into the game. But I like Texas here. Don't love them, though. But I like Texas.
How much worse do you think Michael Hawkins has to play? Like, I guess, how much less bad than Arch Manning does Michael Hawkins have to be? Michael Hawkins and co, right? Like whoever's under center on a given drive or for the game, whatever. How much worse do they have to play than Arch Manning to win this game? Or do you think they have to play better than
No,
Arch does?
no. To give Oklahoma a chance, 75%, 70% of what Arch has given Texas.
What if they just win the turnover battle?
Well, we saw last
Then where are
year.
you
Remember
at?
last year? Well, at the beginning, the first quarter
Yeah.
could not have scripted a better defensive turnover start for Oklahoma, and they had 3 points or something ridiculous out of that.
Yeah.
That would be my concern. Is like your defense comes out and punches them in the mouth again. You got R. Mason Thomas, David Stone, who's coming into his own right now. You've got a couple of really good pass rushers there. Obviously, the talent in the back end, and they come out and give you what you need in that first quarter. Like, can you take advantage of that? My trust says no in Hawkins. In Mateer,
Yeah, and
absolutely. But by the way, Texas
yeah,
can beat Mateer. Texas can beat OU,
sure,
Oklahoma when
100%.
they have Mateer. With Hawkins, I think it's just that much harder for Oklahoma.
I think I have a little more confidence in Hawkins than you do, but I understand anyone who is wanting to bet on Texas. Like, if you want to, you have to get it now because you're not going to see a better line probably than this. Maybe on game day, right? You'll see like people, if John Mateer is reported to play, you'll see like that line move a little bit even further, even though it's assumed that this is the John Mateer line that you're getting. I don't know, man, because I just think in the trenches, this Texas defense still is really good. Okay, clearly not as good as their defense was last year. And actually, I'll play a little bit devil's advocate on your side. The Florida game, like aside from a couple explosive plays, like yeah, there was Florida was physically able to run the football and move the chains. But that was like what we were expecting that offensive line to be like all season. It caught us by surprise because we hadn't seen that from Florida's offensive line in the running game and DJ Lagway. Like that was what we expected on the season. Texas defense, other than that, still has looked really good. Obviously, against the inferior competition, they've looked great. You know, against Ohio State, which by the way, Julian Sayin, it feels like no one's really talking about him, but he's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten, if not the country right now. That wide receiver room is still nuts. Now, granted, Bo Jackson wasn't a feature running back in that offense at that point, but yeah, that Ohio State offense shutting them down to only 14 points and their game-winning, their difference-making touchdown being on like a 50-yard bomb to Carnell Tate. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe this Texas defense is better than what people are projecting it to be right now. I still am in the camp that I don't trust Arch Manning. I think turnovers are a serious issue, and I think that could be an issue with Michael Hawkins. And like you said, obviously turnover doesn't necessarily guarantee a win, but I think that this Oklahoma offense with Ben Arbuckle, okay, versus last year, I think even with the deficit at quarterback, I still think that Oklahoma can win this football game. So I'll roll with them. And of course, would love to take Oklahoma if John Mateer's playing, just like you. Alabama going to Missouri. It's just like, because this is the Indiana Oregon week and it's Cotton Bowl, right? Like, I don't know. This game's obviously not being swept underneath the rug, but like with all the other games, you know, a winner of this game is in the driver's seat for the college football playoffs. I mean, you have two of the best offensive coordinators in the SEC, if not in college football right now, going head to head. Kirby Moore taking interviews at the Arkansas job. Ryan Grubb, all of a sudden with Ty Simpson, looking phenomenal. All right, Jam Miller coming back for Alabama. All of a sudden, they got a run game for the first time in how many years without Jalen Milroe being a focal point of it? I mean, sure, no Quay Rousseau for Alabama, right? Obviously, you didn't need him last week. Uh, Giving up explosives for Alabama, I think, has been an issue, especially in the run game. Is that going to be an issue, CD, against Missouri and Ahmad Hardy, who is balling?
It certainly could. I'll throw Jamal Roberts in there, and then obviously you have to consider what Bo Pribula has with his legs as well. I mean, I think if you're Bama fans, every time you close your eyes, it's almost like you see Gus Malzahn and Tommy Castellanos doing their thing against you. Like with Missouri, I think sees that script. Now, if you're Alabama fans, like what gives you comfort at night is that you've seen Ken Womack 2 straight weeks from now play an athletic quarterback, a dangerous quarterback with their legs, and have a nice answer for that. Not only did you finally make halftime adjustments, but you've had a nice adjustment for that. You play disciplined, sound football. I will say though, and I love Vandy's coaching staff, right? Like there's a very good coaching staff here. Like you said, you talked about with the OC and Drink too for Missouri. They're going to come out, I think, humming. They had a bye week in Massachusetts their past 2 weeks. So they're coming. They saved some stuff. They got some real nice stuff. I think Bama's going to get their best shot. Bama's also, this is the third straight game playing a ranked opponent. What's really nice if you're Alabama is you're playing a noon start on the road. I think if you went into Columbia, I think in the afternoon slot or in the evening slot, I think it's a little bit different environment. Obviously, Missouri's going to be fired up to play. Like the crowd will be fired up. No doubt about that. I do kind of like that for Alabama there. You talked about explosive plays Bama's given up. Missouri, going back to that South Carolina game, what they did so well was stop the run. But then you let receivers go deep. You had tight ends running free against Lenore Sellers in South Carolina. And I understand that Sellers brings a different dynamic running the football, and you have to play him differently than you have to play Ty Simpson. Obviously, you respect Ty Simpson in his legs, but Simpson's arm is what scares you at night, right? If you're Missouri and that defensive staff, that has to stop because Bama has a really freaking good quarterback, maybe the best in the country, and B, a really solid set of wide receivers and an offense coordinator and an offensive staff that's putting together some really fine game plans in what they've had so far, and a running game for Alabama that finally started going. You saw healthy Jam Miller get plenty of carries, right? And they got a couple other fun wrinkles. Obviously, the big boy, Caden Proctor, getting involved there with all that stuff. So, yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff in this game. I think Missouri was a team I think you and I maybe were a little bit lower on in this offseason than we probably should have been. And yeah, boy, oh boy, is this a good one here. This for Missouri is a massive test, I think, compared to the rest of their schedule. Kansas, I think, is a very respectable win. I thought they were impressive in that. Bama will be it's different in own right challenges, but you talked about driver's seat for college football playoffs. How about the SEC too? I mean, if you're Missouri, you're looking at down your schedule, man, and you're seeing a lot of winnable football games for sure. Alabama has to take care of business in their own right, and they got a couple of tough games ahead of them, no doubt about that. But this is another one. This is another one here. Very excited here. If I had to pick one, we'll pick this at 3. I think what the line's at. When we're recording this Tuesday night, I'm gonna go Bama -3. And boy, oh boy, do I hate doing that. I don't feel great about it. In the spot on the road, man, on the road. Obviously, it was nice getting that monkey off your back against Georgia in Athens, but this will be another good test for you. Another good test.
Yeah, I'll be with you right there. I think this is the week that Caden Green was projected to be back, right after he went down with injury. Whether he plays, I think that's still up for speculation. I think if he plays, that's a big deal. All right, that is a huge deal. Definitely an added bump to that Missouri offensive line. Jam Miller being back, the story that I learned from this past weekend was that is a big deal. That was a way bigger deal than I thought it was going to be. Alabama, are you at all worried, CD, about these Missouri edge rushers? I mean, Dane Wilson, Zion Young, combined for 43 pressures so far this year. They are playing out of their minds. Serious improvement. Now, they've taken advantage in some games of some very poor offensive tackle play. I don't know that you're necessarily going to have poor offensive tackle play when you're playing against Alabama. You could in any given spot. Ty Simpson, a guy in a lot of this offense, right? You do need a good offensive line because you are developing routes downfield. Ty Simpson, average time to throw over 3 seconds. That's one of the slowest in the SEC. Does this edge group for Missouri at all concern you?
If you're Alabama, I mean, yeah, I mean, and even you talked about them beating up on potentially some bad competition. Like even then, like metrically, they're still top 30 with like your some of your advanced analytics, defensive ratings, all that kind of opponent adjusted stuff. So like, they're still a very good defense, very talented. I think another year with this coaching staff, Blake Baker, the effects of him leaving, I think, are a little bit lessened. You bring some talent in there that you've hit on some guys. So yeah, I mean, obviously if you're Bama, you've seen like you've struggled at times that offensive line, like and especially like they're big athletic dudes, but sometimes like they don't get it done. They don't move piles and they don't keep Simpson upright. If Simpson's running around, that's not where you want to be. If you can't run the football, that's not where you want to be. Relying on your defense to make stops over and over again against a talented Missouri defense is not great. It's not great.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll with you. I think I'm gonna take Alabama -3. Not feel very good about it at all because there's a world out there where Missouri gashes this Bama defense. Not because this Bama defense is not talented, but because they've gotten caught in the explosive play department like multiple times. Also, think about the game that they lost, all right, against Florida State offensively, right, in that first half, especially, okay? 19 pressures Florida State generated on Ty Simpson. 19. All right. These other teams that you're playing against, uh, Wisconsin, Georgia, Vanderbilt, they all only generated 9 pressures. While there's some talent for sure on those teams, they weren't able to get pressure generated on Ty Simpson. Like, what happens if they are able to do that? This is also one of the better metrically uh, run defensive oriented team. Like they're incredible at stopping the run. They shut down Kansas's run game, right? Which is something that has been a calling card of these Lance Leipold offenses. It's been really interesting looks off play action. It has been an efficient passing game, but it's also been just gashing, speed outside zone run game, and it's been, yeah, it's incredible to watch, but something that Missouri completely shut down for them. So I think that there is a chance that Missouri absolutely wins this game at home, and I think that this is a very solid line. But I will be with you on Alabama -3. Ohio State goes to Ohio State goes to Illinois. Illinois is getting healthier. All right, they still don't have Xavier Scott. And here's the thing too, Luke Altmaier, as good as he's been this year taking care of the football, which has been quite a surprise, okay? Still, even without the turnovers under pressure, he still hasn't been great under pressure. He hasn't thrown a touchdown under pressure all season. He's gotten a sack a plethora of times. He's 19 sacks given up this season, right? Ohio State's defense looks like the best defense in the country right now, from top to bottom, right? Caden Curry, right in that front seven. What you have there at the second level, the secondary looking as good as it has. I mean, it's been a spectacle to watch. They look really good. Ohio State fans bidding farewell, right, to Jim Knowles, taking their little victory lap, this week especially. What does this look like? I mean, this is a 14.5 point line that we're staring at. Illinois catching those 14.5 points. What direction are you going with this?
It's first of all, it's a big line. It's hard. It's hard not to be on Ohio State's side. They look and thoroughly are the best team in the country as we sit right now, and they're only getting better. You have a redshirt freshman quarterback who's getting more and more comfortable in the offense, who's getting the reins taken off him a little bit more and more every single week. He already has experience going on the road to Washington. You have Bo Jackson, a true freshman running back, and he's also getting more and more comfortable in this offense. That wide receiver core is getting unleashed. Obviously, in defense, not only do you talked about Patricia and what they're doing schematically, but guys that are like getting real playing time and really getting into their roles and playing great, great football with extremely talented team up and down this roster. I mean, every time you turn on Ohio State, they just seem to impress you just a little bit more and in different ways. It's incredible. And for Illinois, they're a hard team to get a beat on. They really are. You saw it, what happened with Indiana. That's looking like more of a fluke than obviously a realistic outcome. 50 points typically never really is a realistic outcome between a couple of conference opponents, especially a team that's ranked one in Illinois, one that was supposed to be fighting for a playoff spot. And then you go on the road and Purdue, not that they hung in there, but for Purdue standards, they kind of did. Obviously, Luke Altmaier was extremely efficient. Khalil Valentine, Hank Beatty, a couple of other stars. You talked about some of the defensive backs they got back and what they did, but that's concerning there. If Ryan Brown and with the way Maccabee and Purdue ran the football, that's ultra concerning. Obviously, Illinois at home has been a different football team. We saw what happened with USC. I don't know, man. I think Ohio State's a wagon. At some point, they're going to get tested. At some point, a team is going to punch them in the mouth and give them a 4-quarter football game. I don't quite see it being here for Illinois. I like Ohio State, and I'll take the points with 14.5.
I mean, they got that 4-quarter battle in the first game of the season.
Yes.
With your redshirt sophomore quarterback's first start ever. And he did enough, you know? And also, here's what I look at too. When you're going on the road, all right, what are things that you have to do well? Okay, you have to run the ball well. Generally, you don't have to, but like that is a good sign. Check. All right, Bo Jackson has looked great. James Peoples looked pretty explosive as well last week. You didn't even need to obviously you need to play 4 quarter. You got 3 running backs that you like a lot and an offensive line that's playing pretty decent. Don't commit penalties. Ohio State is one of not only are they the most talented team probably in the country, with one of the better quarterbacks in the country right now in terms of how he's playing. They do not commit penalties. They are very disciplined. And now can this change week to week based on the crew that you get? Sure, there's a lot of variables and lots of variance in a stat like penalties, right? But generally this is a pretty disciplined Ohio State team. So go on the road, run the football well, check, and don't commit penalties. Okay, check and check. And then play great defense. All right. If you play great defense, run the football, don't commit penalties, you can beat anyone on the road. And I especially think with what the level that your offense has been playing the last couple of weeks, I definitely think that you can cover 14.5 against this Illinois team, who, like you said, this isn't even a knock at Illinois. This is just Ohio State's the best team in football right now.
Yeah. Listen, I will say Bielema will have the boys ready to play. Absolutely. I mean, we've seen that, I feel like, time and time again. Like, Bielema, you got to trust him. And by the way, he has knocked off number 1 Ohio State before, right? Back in, golly, going to date myself here. It was Scott Tolzien versus Terrell Pryor, a classic. Yeah, John Clay and James White, a couple of studs for Wisconsin. And getting that win there. And that was at home. So it can be done. Obviously, that don't mean anything for this game here. Just wanted to throw that in there for some nostalgic Big Ten fans. But yeah, I mean, this is a massive game, I think, for Illinois to try to continue to write their season. And if you're Ohio State, just survive, man. Just survive. Keep winning. Keep getting better and stay healthy. But yeah, I like Ohio State here.
We're gonna head over to Indiana at Oregon. All right. Look, going to the Pacific Coast, it's not easy. All right. Just ask our friends, from Penn State, what it's like going to the West Coast.
Too soon, man.
It's not easy. But think about the magnitudes of this game, CD. You have 2 undefeated teams, all right, both vying for playoff spots, with 2 Heisman contending quarterbacks. At Indiana and Oregon, yeah, they're playing incredible football right now. Mendoza is playing out of his mind. Dante Moore looks like an NFL draft prospect as well. Like the way his arm strength is just popping on camera consistently. And these receivers, yeah, no, you don't need Evan Stewart because you got DeCoy Moore, you got Gary Bryant, you got Malik Benson, you got Kenyon Sadiq. You are loaded there. And then Indiana, you're getting, contributions from everywhere. And we're just seeing this time and time again with Kurt Signetti, just getting consistently good levels of football from every level in your game. And it's going to be a test for sure. Going on the road, this line is at 7.5, which, by the way, the fact that Oregon is only favored by 7.5 at home against Indiana is a testament, all right, a testament to how good this Indiana football team really is. Because this Oregon team is power rated as one of the best teams in college football. and Indiana on a neutral site would only be like 4-point underdogs. That is absurd.
Oh wait, there is one game this week after a slew of really good football games. There's one game where both teams, opponent adjusted, offense and defense, are metrically in the top 11, and that is this one. Opponent adjusted. That means that it's not just about run up score in garbage time. It's not about just destroying random teams. This is like opponent adjusted. This is about how you would do against average opponents. Essentially, obviously, neither of these teams are average, but you get the point. This is awesome. I will say too, as a person that was not a huge fan of conference realignment, as side note here, outside of the magnitude of this game, like this is a great thing for college football. Like to have this kind of conference game means so much, and to bring Indiana and Oregon together for the Big Ten and the college football in general is awesome. It's really exciting to see what happens here. Obviously, the first of many games these two teams and coaches will play against each other. Boy, oh boy, man! I think Indiana, they're a hard team to read because you saw what they did to Illinois, right? You saw that kind of get out of hand there, and then you saw them struggle and somehow come up with a win against Iowa, potentially because Iowa's quarterback got hurt, right? Like that was a big part of that football game, Gronowski. But I think that's just the reality of playing on the road in the conference. Like I don't think
Yeah.
you can take too much of that. Like I think there's somewhere in the middle between those things. And is that middle good enough to go into Eugene and get a win? I say yeah. I think they cover here. This to me feels like a 4-quarter knockout kind of game here. Potential letdown spot for Oregon. Now they're coming off a bye, which is massive. Dan Lanning's going to find a way to get those boys motivated. Absolutely not worried about that. Dante Moore is incredible. They got talent everywhere on that defense, especially. But you talked about it. Indiana has the talent, they have the coaching and the quarterback to stay in this football game. Not to mention, too, they run the football very, very well. They got a couple good running backs, 3 of them specifically, that they can kind of just alternate through and keep fresh legs. Yeah, man. I mean, plus they're also coming off a bye, too, if I'm not mistaken. So that's it's a big spot there for Indiana because you are going on the road, you are traveling through. A little worried about that, but boy, oh boy, man, Indiana plus 7.5.
Yeah. The crazy thing about the Indiana defense is one, that it's elite again, which is wild. Uh, Two, I did look, if you watched Indiana football last year, like you know how big CJ West was to that defensive line and stopping the run. Like he was the run stopping defensive tackle, like coming out of the draft. Like he was the guy. He was such an anchor down there. And they're still like a top 30 run defense this year. And you're gonna have to be because you're playing against an Oregon team with,
Deer
by the
Hill.
way, everyone wants to poop on what?
I'll say Deer
Yeah,
Hill.
yeah, exactly. Everyone wants to poop on Mekhi Hughes, like, oh, look at this kid who didn't make a decision that was appropriate. First of all, got his NIL bag, preserved a red shirt. Unbelievable win for the kid. All
Well
right.
done, well done.
Meanwhile, you got Hill, Lamar, Whittington averaging over 8 yards a carry. That is nuts. On top of having a Heisman contending quarterback, that is absurdly stupid. That's so stupid. So how good does Mendoza need to play in this game for Indiana to win? I think pretty good. All right. But he's been not just like good, he's been dominant. All right. Like he has decreased his pressure to sack rate from 25 to 12%. Obviously, he's worse under pressure, but he's done a phenomenal job limiting negative plays. All right. And when he's clean, which by the way, this Indiana offensive line does a great job keeping him clean. And while Oregon's defensive line is good, all right, I don't think it has the elite upend talent that it did last year. While the depth is there completely, I totally understand. There's depth there, but if they keep him clean, I mean, he's thrown over 1,000 yards, 13 touchdowns, no interceptions at a 78% completion percentage. Like when he is clean, he is probably the best quarterback in college football, which is wild. All right, he's also. It's not like he's dinking and dunking, right? Like the Dylan Gabriel completion percentage. Like this is elite play. He is a top 10, top 25 in the country in average depth of target, right? So he's being elite while pushing the ball down the field, right? Even more so than Dante Moore and Ty Simpson, who are also Heisman contenders as well. He is pushing the ball down the field in an elite way, and this team in Indiana is pretty good. And despite how good this Oregon team has looked and how good they are, I'm with you. I'll take Indiana plus 7.5, even on the road, which is crazy. Of course, this isn't on a best bet because we're just going to sit back and enjoy this football game for what it is. But man, yeah, Indiana plus 7.5. I'll take it. And this got bet down big time. This was going to be on my dirty dogs for sure. I was for sure. It was a double digit spread. Like on Sunday. I'm like, oh boy, can't wait to put these guys on my dirty dog. Like, what is this line sitting here? Yeah, no dirt. It was going to get bet down to 7.5. Yeah, this is a good football team. And would I be surprised if Oregon, won by 2 touchdowns? No, not necessarily, because Oregon is a phenomenal football team too. Can't wait for this one, CD. Michigan at USC. Another Pacific Coast. I mean, those Pacific Coast games are tough for some of these Midwest schools. They're tough. And this is a USC team that is getting healthier week by week, coming off of a bye. Yeah. The difference in this game for me, this front seven, they haven't shown me that they're really good at all. But if they are good this weekend, they can absolutely win this football game. The priority is obviously stopping the run, right? And then the second priority is probably for Jaden Mayava just not to lose the field position battle in these games. Like, find ways to sustain drives, move the chains, run the football yourself, right? You're playing against a pretty good Michigan defense, not the elite, scary ones that we've seen in the past. But I think with a quarterback advantage, a coaching advantage, an offensive line that I think is really good, yeah, USC can actually win this football game. They're favored by 2.5. That's what we'll be picking it at. But CD, what's the win path for both these teams?
Yeah, man. I will say, and let me give a disclaimer here. This one, I think, more than any other game this week, to me, just is so hard to get a grip on in terms of what I'm going to get from each of these teams. Like, I feel like with USC, for years now, with Lincoln Riley, it's been, well, what's going to happen? Are they going to be able to play the style of football they want to play, or is Michigan going to dictate the style of football for Wisconsin? You talked about running the football, stopping the run for USC, and then for Michigan, like offensively, is Underwood, like, he's on the road, right? He's played a road game before, 2 of them actually, and he's looked pretty good in both of them. You get the emergence of Donovan McCulley, which is awesome and massive for Michigan, no doubt about that. And you're coming off a game where a bad Wisconsin football team gave you problems, especially in that first half for Michigan. So you really don't know. You talked about path to victory. Yeah, it's USC style football. Style football, style football, style football. USC is priding themselves more and more on being able to be a physical football team. But the reality is like they have to earn that. And Maeva, I don't think, can throw the football 43 times like he did on the road in Champaign against Illinois, and USC comes out and win this game. Wayman Jordan, Eli Sanders have to get going. Have to get going. Then Maeva and Lemon and the playmakers that USC has, then they can get theirs and be a complement off that, control the pace of play in this football game. If Michigan is able to grind it out and you're getting 3 and outs for USC, and USC's defense is on the football field a lot of times, Justice Haynes is going to run the football, nickel and dime you. Here's 4 yards here, here's 7 yards here, 6 yards here, 3 yards here, tough 2 yards here, and then he's going to break one. And when he breaks one, we talked about this off air, when he breaks one, what is going to happen? Is that a backbreaker for USC, or is that a spot where they can recover? Is this a spot where they need to get a stop and get off the field, and they let up a 60-yard touchdown? They've done it. I mean, how many times have we seen USC do that, right? And Haynes do that too for Michigan. It seems like once a week, man, he's doing some crazy stuff for Michigan. So he's really good. Underwood special, man. If I had to pick one here, I'm going to take USC. I like them off the bye. I like them off the loss. Lincoln Riley, a little bit of pressure on that team, even more than there is coming to the season. A little bit of a reality check. Let's get back to what we like to do here. Wayman Jordan, Wayman Jordan, Wayman Jordan.
Yeah, and thing is too is like people think they're like, oh, Michigan wants to hold on to the football, right? And they want to dominate time of possession, right? And they want to shorten this game, whatever. Michigan has won the time of possession battle one time this year. One time. And that was against a Central Michigan team where you beat them by 60 points. All right. So what is it, right? It is a result of you are not moving the chains. There are too many 3-and-outs. It is on third down. You are not good enough. All right. They're 31%. All right. Converting on third downs against Power 4 teams. Even short ones. Like they're on par with like West Virginia, Wisconsin, Stanford, Florida, right?
Oh,
And it isn't fair to do like apples to apples comparisons like that, right? Because you're talking
schedules.
about different schedules, different play styles, like you know. But if you are not running the ball effectively on first and second down, like really effectively, I mean, like your chance of success on this drive, on any given drive for Michigan falters, right? I happen to really like USC in this spot actually. Um, Now what happens, right? Michigan, they've been playing really well without two starting offensive linemen, and those guys potentially are back. So what does that do to bolster this run game? Probably a lot. However, they've been playing well without them anyways. So, it doesn't make a drastic difference or not. Yeah, it'll absolutely improve that offense for sure. And the way Justice Haynes is running the football, like, oh, you mean like he's been running behind backup offensive linemen? Like, yeah, he's been incredible. Even with that. Uh, but I think that Jaden Mayava is so good. Right, he's been playing so within this offense, and Lincoln Riley's I think been doing a really good job, despite not being undefeated or anything like that. Like I think he's done a really good job managing this offense. And like you said, Wayman Jordan, Eli Sanders, like that combo right there, one of the better running back duos in the Big Ten, if not in college football, that like people really aren't talking about for some reason. Like people aren't talking about it. I don't know why. Like you don't hear national pundits really talking about like this duo. Like it is. You don't see it on Twitter, right? It doesn't get all the attention, but like it is a good duo. You have one of the best running back duos, and you have one of the best wide receiver duos in the entire country. A great offensive line and a quarterback that can distribute them the football. So yeah, I'm gonna like USC here, but it's gonna depend on that front seven playing well, right? Stopping the run, not missing tackles, right? Keeping Justice Haynes from making those 65, 70-yard touchdowns, like stopping those explosives. Can they do it? I don't know, but I like USC minus 2.5 right here. Florida goes to College Station. They got rocked last year in DJ Lagway's first SEC start in Gainesville. And actually, it was both Marcel Reed and DJ Lagway's first SEC starts against each other. They're going to be squaring off again. DJ Lagway, who was heavily recruited by Texas A&M, ultimately the Aggies just chose Connor Wigman over DJ Lagway. DJ Lagway goes to Florida. Look, I know that he wants to beat A&M. And I also know that Billy Napier coaching for his job is one of the best coaches in college football. I also know that Florida's offensive line played phenomenal last week. I also know that Lagway is looking better and more healthy. I also know that Dallas Wilson, in his debut, put Kobe Black on an absolute poster and just put up over 100 yards. It was nuts. He was nuts. And Sturdivant's healthy. Mizell's healthy. I mean, Trey Wilson's also healthy too. Jaden Ball is getting more involved, 20-plus carries. That's what he should be getting every game. So, yeah, this Florida team seems to be back. But, boy, has A&M looked really good at football too. This is an interesting line here at 7.5. CD, where are you at with this?
Yeah, man. First of all, like circle, circle, circle. I mean, I think you and me, I think SEC fans, specifically more so A&M and Florida fans, circled this game because of some of that off the field stuff, and obviously what happened last year. But like, this is a massive game here. I think these are two, I think, really good football teams. A&M obviously is ranked fifth in the country. Am I seeing that right? Texas A&M. We are in October, man, and and we're still live, baby. And for Florida, I mean, what Florida are we going to get here? Are we going to get Billy Napier coaching for his job? Or are we going to get this back to whatever the heck is going on there in September with whatever you call that offensive output there? So we'll see. Obviously, you think you've turned a corner if you're Florida. A&M continues to play good football. Since that Notre Dame game, you grind out a tough game against Auburn with your changeup, with your fastball not working, and then you flex your muscles against a good Mississippi State team. For 4 quarters, you played a good football game at home. And let's not forget to mention Kyle Field night game is a real difference maker. Florida fans, you saw what the Swamp did last week for Texas. A&M has a very similar kind of advantage there at Kyle Field. The Aggie folks, man, they are bought in, and you know more than most. They are bought in right now to everyone. And Mike Elko, they got the defense playing good football. They got the talent they think they need to compete. Colin Klein is one of the best coordinators in college football right now. They're healthy. They got receiver cores. It's a lot of fun, man. A&M has to make DJ Lagway uncomfortable, and Florida has to make Marcel Reed uncomfortable. I think both these teams will try to commit to running the football, right? And it's going to be a 4 quarter game. A&M and Florida, like they need to convert on third down, and their quarterbacks are going to have to make plays, extending plays, putting the ball in good spots for their receivers, talented receivers to make plays, man. It's incredible, man. Listen, I'm drinking the maroon Kool-Aid. I am bought in on A&M. This feels different. I know that everyone says that, and that's been the thing for A&M. This is our year. This is our year. This is our year. This feels different. I understand Florida's hungry. I understand that coaching staff is coaching for their jobs. I understand their players in Florida, when their back's against the wall, that's a good football team, and a talented football team's a dangerous spot to be in. But boy, oh boy, A&M at home, man, I love it.
Want to hear something crazy, CD? If you're doubting like this home field advantage thing and like whether or not like the 12 man is alive right now. Like 6 of the 9 largest crowds at Kyle Field have come during the Mike Elko era. That means in the last
13 months.
however 13 months. So what is that? 12 home games? 6 of them have been in the top 10 largest crowds in Kyle Field ever. Mississippi State last weekend was 108,000. That's bonkers. All right. They will be in droves for this Florida game. Concerns though, right? Like for A&M, Le'Veon Moss is not 100%. He's not. All right, I know you were able to have success with Ruben Owens, but like you really haven't dominated on the ground against any particular team this year at all. So, are you going to need to run the ball? Are you going to be able to against this really good defensive line? What happens if Marcel Reed misses some big plays, like he's been prone to this
When?
year? Yeah, he's done it in just about every game, right? Like he's missed some big time throws in some big time spots. However, he's still played very good. He's probably a top half quarterback in the SEC. Actually, I'll say for
Yeah.
sure is a top half quarterback in the SEC. And DJ Lago has not been up until this past week. However, I will mention also too for Florida, Texas was without Malik Muhammad. Right, so they go to Kobe Black, who got torched by Dallas Wilson. You are not playing against Kobe Black. All right, you are playing against Will Lee and Des Ricks. You were looking at a second team All SEC defensive back, which, by the way, All SEC defensive backs last year of the first and second team, every single one of them, besides 2, were drafted to the NFL. And that's Isaac Smith, right, from Mississippi State, who will get drafted this year, and then Will Smith, who will get drafted to the NFL this year. So, like, yeah, he's a pretty good football player. Hasn't played his elite brand of football all season, but he's there, and he's got the size and speed and talent. And Des Ricks has been the storyline for this Texas A&M defense. He's been absolutely bonkers. Well, if you're a fan, right? Obviously, the national stories, Cassius Howell and Torian York, but for the local perspective, like Des Ricks elevating to the level that he's playing at right now is nuts, right? That's the 5-star kid that you went and got in the portal from Alabama, right? He's been playing out of his mind. So you're playing a different level of cornerback that you've played against all season if you are Florida, right? You're probably playing against a better defensive line than you're used to playing all season long. Even, I'll say, even better defensive line than Miami on the high end ceiling. Now we've seen down to down play from Miami's defensive line where it's like, holy bonkers, this might be the best defensive line in college football, or one of them for sure. But this Texas A&M defensive line is really good. And I know people want to consider A&M. They're like, oh, like they can get gashed by the runs and explosive plays. Not in recent football games. Not since the UTSA game, right? Things got cleaned up, right? The one big thing that Elko was talking about, and I loved when he said this at the Texas Tech preseason kickoff, and he was like, look, he's like, we are so close to being so good on defense because it really was explosive plays that killed us. And now that you're getting great cornerback play from both your cornerbacks and in the slot, you get Jordan Shaw, Tyree Chappelle, like rotating in and out, both of them playing at a pretty good level. And your safety's playing a little bit better. Marcus Ratcliffe taking that big jump. Yeah, this is a really good football team. Torian York, I've definitely been more critical of him, and maybe attributed some of his success freshman year to Edgerrin Cooper, you know. But boy, he cut weight. He is fast. He is a game wrecker right now. Torian York is, without a doubt, one of the best linebackers in college football and is NFL ready. He's phenomenal. So, with all that being said, I'll take Florida to keep this within a touchdown. I think that this is a lower scoring game. Thought about taking the under in this one. Uh, is A&M going to be able to stop Jaden Ball consistently for A&M's sake? I hope so. Is Marcel Reed going to be able to make the throws consistently? I also think Florida's secondary is pretty athletic too. Not that some of these other secondaries, you played some really good secondaries as Texas A&M, but yeah, these wide receivers for A&M are phenomenal. What are you going to get? Are you going to get that high level play again? Probably, because you've seen it every single game this year. But I think 7.5 is a lot of points against the Florida team that I think is pretty darn good still. Kansas at Texas Tech. Is Texas Tech national championship contender?
Yes. Oh,
I agree. National championship contender? I think so.
they're gonna have to keep elevating their play. That's what I'll say. I mean, 7 field goal attempts against Houston. And listen, we love Houston, we love Willie Fritz,
Sure.
right? Like that's what they're gonna kind of do to you on the road. I understand that. You put up 550 yards, and it still felt like you left meat on the bones. That's what's so encouraging about Texas Tech. And if you're Kansas too, like that's a damn scary football team. Like there were a lot of good football games this week. We talked about. I think we want to give love to our Big 12 folks, and like Texas Tech deserves love, right? But Kansas also is a dangerous, dangerous football team. Jalen Daniels, explosive playability, the coaching staff there, some talent on that defense, an opportunistic defense could cause some problems for Texas Tech here. How are you feeling in this game here?
Look, I think game to game things are very different. I also think Houston, while they don't do a lot of things great, they do play phenomenal red zone defense. They're a top 20 team in preventing teams from scoring touchdowns in the red zone, which has kept them. Think about how many games that's kept them in, right? Like that's been big for them. So I'm not going to buy a ton of stock into that. I still think that they looked pretty good against Utah. They opened it up in that second half. And it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for them. It really doesn't. Although I think Baron Morton is how they hit their shields.
Yes.
Right.
National championship contender is a healthy and a high level Baron Morton.
Yeah. Kansas, like you look at it and you're like, okay, what do they have to do? Obviously, they got to score points, and I think that they'll get those. But like to win this game, they have to get stops. They have to generate negative plays. Can they do that? They've had 16 sacks this year, right? It's not like 7 of them were against Wagner, right? They've been like consistently good schematically, like coverage sacks, like you've had a mix of a lot of different stuff. And while Tech is winning the turnover battle, right, every week, they're still turning the ball over, right? They're just forcing more turnovers than they're giving up. So, like, what happens if that flips? Like, what happens if Texas Tech is turning the ball over or is giving the ball up and they're not getting the ball back? I think you can find a spot where Kansas could definitely play spoiler maker, even with a 14.5 point spread, in a team that's a national title contender, right? That's just like the craziness that you have in the Big 12. I think going on the road for Kansas makes it a lot tougher. But when you're relying on turnovers, right, to win a football game, that must mean that Texas Tech is doing something right. Like they are running the football well. Like all their quarterbacks are making phenomenal reads. Their wide receivers, I mean, uh, Aiken and Caleb Douglas and Reggie Virgil. I mean, they're a great versatile set of weapons. Not to mention they got a good tight end there. Their defense, David Bailey. I mean, in general, like their whole defense is completely changed. And I know that like I was a big defender of Tim DeRuyter, but it seems like the change has been so big for them.
The personnel
And
change
I
was
was wrong.
huge.
Hand up. Well, personnel change, obviously, when oils are over $60. When oil is over $60 a barrel, all right, like you're going to be fielding a good roster over there in Lubbock. Hand up, though, I'll say that the defensive coaching staff change ended up being a really big deal, I think. And you got a great coach over there. I think Joey McGuire's phenomenal. Even with the coordinator turnover, no Zach Healy hasn't mattered, man. They're so good. They're so good at so many things. Jalen Daniels will have to play one of the best games of his entire life. I'm not sure that Kansas is going to be able to run the ball super effectively against this Texas Tech team, but basically they have to turn the ball over, not turn the ball over, generate negative plays, right, to force big third downs in which they're able to capitalize. And Lance Leipold has to like if Lance Leipold pulls this one off, it will be unbelievable. Because Tech's at home, I'll lay the 14.5 with Texas Tech. Not feel great about that. That is backdoor cover, by the way, written literally all over it. All over it. Will not be on my best bets for sure, but yeah, I'll take Texas Tech minus 14.5.
Listen, this is the same Kansas team that went into Columbia, Missouri, and it took a fourth quarter lead against the Missouri Tigers team that's undefeated right now in the SEC, that is 3-point dogs to Alabama right now. Like, it's a real football team at Kansas. I understand you lost to Cincinnati. By the way, we were all over that. Cincinnati is a damn good football team and deserves some respect. And then with UCF, I mean, shit happens. Shit happens, right? And that kind of stuff here. You have to run the football if you are Kansas. Get LaShawn Williams going. Get Daniels in space. Get Henderson touches in space as well. Emmanuel Henderson is a dynamic football player. Going to be fun to watch. If you have not seen him play, he is a really good football player. The one thing that's nice, you talked about Tech being at home. Their defense, like you trust them. I do. I do trust them to not let the floor fall from underneath you to where you lose this football game. I think you're too talented right now to be doing that. But it's a real spot. You could have a letdown spot. If you look at their schedule, Texas Tech, this 4-game stretch with Utah and Houston, both road games, Kansas this week, and at Arizona State next week. That's the tough part of your schedule right there. After that, there's some solid teams on the back end, but you get through that, it's smooth sailing, and you're staring at college football playoff as you are as we sit right now, but even then some. But this is a big spot here. Jacob Rodriguez is an incredible football player for Tech. He has made big time strides. I got to give him credit. The duo of Williams and Dickey is continuing to prove effective with what they're doing, riding the hot hand, and honestly, like just giving guys touches with what they do best. Dickey this time, this week he had the long catch and run. Jacoby Williams a couple weeks ago against Utah, he had the long catch and run. They're a lot of fun to watch here, but I'm going to take Kansas plus 14.5. I like the backdoor cover. I think they keep it close, and I think they come out with a really nice game plan for Tech, and they give them all they can handle. I think Kansas is hungry. I think they're going to try to run the football and have some success doing this. This is a really nice test for Tech. You look at their schedule, they're not going to play like an elite talented football team. Games like this are big, I think, for their building blocks as they move towards a playoff push. Just grinding out tough wins where a team takes away your fastball and you have to respond with your offhand. So, yeah, I like Kansas plus 14.5, but nonetheless, still think Tech will get the win.
Game of the week. South Florida goes to Denton to square off against North Texas, an undefeated North Texas. North Texas catching 1.5 points. I mean, the winner of this, right, them and Tulane will obviously be the favorite, right, to win the American. And then ultimately the winner of this and Tulane will probably be the favorites to go to the college football playoffs as the G5 representative. We're talking about college football college football playoff implications in the G5 in week 7.
Did you say Memphis
All right,
too? Did you mention Memphis?
I guess I didn't mention Memphis. Yeah, that's a good point. Memphis
They're
did not
6 and
deserve
0,
that.
man. They're 6 and 0.
Yeah, they are. And Brendan Lewis, I mean, gosh, still cannot believe Ryan Silverfield. Like every Power 4 coach needs to be on the phone with him ASAP. But we're not here to talk about Memphis. We're here to talk about North Texas and USF. Both of these coaches, by the way, could be looking at P4 jobs. Eric Morris, Oklahoma State, maybe. Alex Golish, Arkansas. If the Florida job opens up, he'll for sure get a phone call for that one. Yeah, I mean, North Texas was our 2024 wagon of the year. All right. How many times were we just like, yeah, Eric Morris is going to, I mean, he's going to take us out of one. And he did so many times, and he's just doing it again, man. And it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback for Eric Morris. It literally does not matter. All right. He makes all of them incredible. He revives quarterbacks. He lifts quarterbacks up. He just develops quarterbacks. Cam Ward, Chandler Morris, Chandler Rogers. And now we got Drew Mestemaker, who was a backup quarterback for his entire high school football career, walks on, right? Played safety. He was an all-district safety in high school 2 years ago. What? And he's playing like one of the best football players in the entire country at quarterback. He's not turning the ball over. He's effective through the air. He's using all of his weapons effectively. Miles Coleman, while he hasn't found the end zone through the air yet, like he's looked good. I mean, and the rest of these guys, they're awesome. And then how about changing your defensive coordinator? Right? Skylar Cassidy from Sam Houston. Not only do you bolster this roster with several power 4 guys, right? Pluck them here, pluck them there, all right? You have a defense that's also full of a lot of those Sam Houston guys. Well, you got a homegrown guy, of course, in elite linebacker. Gosh, blanking on the name.
Witter?
Wislavsky. There we
Yeah.
go. Ethan Wislavsky. And then you bring in the Sam Houston guys like Fields. You got Armstead, Fisher, who have all played in that Cassidy system, which has just helped it, right? Kind of mold in this like better look defense than we've seen in the past. It's not amazing. It's better than what we've seen. Yeah, I mean, and how well have they been able to run the ball too with McGill, and then the gem of that 2025 recruiting class, Caleb Hawkins, right? 200 yards, 6 touchdowns in the last 2 games. Monster, right? So you're talking about a team that's able to attack from all angles in this Eric Moore offense, which is amazing. And then a defense that's improved with a defensive coordinator that I thought was one of the best hires at a coordinator position in all of college football. Seems to be working out pretty well right there. And here's the thing, they could give up a lot of points in this game because South Florida is good as well. Byron Brown is phenomenal. He just had 162 yards on the ground last week. And here I am hyping up North Texas's offense and defense like USF. Lest we forget, beat Florida just a couple weeks ago. Feels like the air was kind of deflated from the balloon when they lost to Miami, but that's one of the best teams in college football. All right, they don't need to be the best team in college football to beat North Texas this weekend on the road. This is going to be an absolute battle, man.
Yeah, that also against Miami, that was the 3rd straight game of playing like a pretty quality opponent and having to get up for that football game if you're South Florida. You talked about Byron Brown. He deserves all the love he's going to get and has gotten. Obviously, what he does through the air, but especially through the legs. If South Florida can run the football 62 times like they did against Charlotte, that's a recipe. That's a heck of a recipe for Alex Golish to win this football game. But defensively, man, they are a top 50 defense in college football. And that needs to be, I think, that is what making South Florida so dangerous this year compared to prior years when they've had explosion on the offensive side of the football. And here we are, and they're going to need it. You talked about Mestemaker, what he does. 0 interceptions, 5 sacks. I get it, the competition hasn't been crazy intense for North Texas, but the reality is he's looked so crisp. And I will say, and I'll stand by it until probably to the end of the year, South Alabama is a better football team than their record shows. I absolutely stand by that. And North Texas answered, responded again and again. Caleb Hawkins got going. Mestemaker wasn't perfect. He was good enough. What I'm interested to see with this North Texas offense and what they do Drew Mestemaker's legs become a factor? It seems like they've almost been hiding it just a little bit, especially in American play or the past couple weeks here, he's a very good athlete. Obviously, you want him throwing the football, and when he does, getting it to those talented receivers for the Mean Green. But I want to see if that's something that they can give the edge to. Everyone's going to talk about Byron Brown and his legs. What can Mestamaker do? Extending football players, keeping it on read options, stuff like that, just to change the look up for the defense for South Florida, which has been flying around the field. They really got after Tim Albin in Charlotte. Obviously, much different competition. I understand that. And you saw him get after Lagway in Florida, and obviously with Boise State and everything that happened in Week 1. This is a heck of a football game. This is a premier event in Texas. You have Red River. You have A&M hosting Florida. No, man. Denton, Friday night is the place to be. This is fantastic. This is massive for the American. You talked about the playoff implications. This is massive for these two coaches, these players. Love that they're getting their love because they deserve it. Can't wait to see what happens. If I have to make a pick here, I'm going to go the home team here. Give me North Texas. I think plus 1.5, whatever. I'll take them to win. This is huge, man. By the way, a little nugget. They literally are canceling classes on Friday afternoon to get their player, to get their obviously you've had attendance issues. I understand that. That's kind of the part of this, but they're all in, I think, down there in Denton, and they need to beat a very good South Florida football team.
If you're in that area, right, Denton Geyer, they play on Thursday. Denton Ryan, playing in, Richland Hill. What are you doing on Friday night? If you're in that area, go to the game. All right. Like you said, being at home, I think, is a big deal. The games where they didn't play well was when they were on the road. All right. At home, their average margin of victory is 38 points. They haven't needed to go to overtime right at home like they did with Army or like they did with Western Michigan, which, by the way, both these teams battle tested. I think USF actually is probably a better football team. All right. But I will take the home factor, the nugget that you talked about, the class being canceled, the fact that there's no high school football going on over there in Denton, except Denton High School, who stinks this year. And they've been playing really well at home. So I'm with you. We're going to take the guy that we slandered in our preview of the First Responder Bowl, just like, 10 months ago. We're going to ride with Drew Mestamaker another time, baby. Let's go. North Texas plus 1.5. I'm with you. Not on the best bets, but boy, am I excited to watch this football game. Could UCF win this game or USF? Absolutely, USF could win this game. Because guess what? Then it just probably is like, okay, the better football team probably won. All right. But I got to believe that this North Texas team has a little bit more in them. So,
which, by the way, you look at North Texas' schedule, it is extremely favorable. Now, they might not have the quality of wins. It'll sort itself out in the American. We talked about the beginning of the video with Navy, Memphis, North Texas, South Florida, Tulane. I'll stop right there. For playoff, like ECU, I think is going to give people problems, stuff like that. But
Temple
for playoff considerations,
for later in the video,
for playoff considerations, their schedule is super, super manageable down the stretch. South Florida's, I think, is a little bit more tricky. You've got FAU, who's dangerous a little bit. You've got obviously Memphis on the road, UTSA at Navy, stuff like that. Rice just to kick things off at the end of the year. So there's some. It's interesting. It gets really interesting for the Mean Green if they come out of Denton home stadium with a win Friday night.
We're going to head over to our best bets now. All right. Last week, CD and I, we fired off so many bets last week. It was nuts. And we squeaked out even. We were combined 7-7. We are down quite a bit of units on the year, you and I, CD, which is all made up for in the Dirty Dogs, by the way. All right. So if you include Dirty Dogs and best bets,
stick around a little bit.
Stick around. All right. So if you don't believe our best bets, stick with our Dirty Dogs, okay? Because we are up on the year. CD and I combined are way up. Uh, so I got 8 bets this week. I had 6 last week. I got 8. I'm still firing. All right, I really like the slate this week, and I think we missed some too by not. Um, Obviously, stuff happens from Sunday night to Monday morning, like stuff we can't necessarily put out early on. So the fact that we're putting out these lines as late as we are in the week, like we could be doing even worse. All right, so we're gonna keep doing our best, but yeah, there's 8 of them. I like. How many you got?
I've got 4, so a little bit less, but
Okay.
four sharp ones.
All right. So here's how it'll work. I'll give off 2, and then you'll give 1 to every 2. All right. I'll start here. Give me Temple plus 9.5 against Navy at home. A team that is playing better than anyone's talking about, and I am just not buying it with Navy. Right. Plus, their play style is just conducive. All right, to keeping teams in ball games. Not to mention their defense has not been impressive. And Temple seems like a pretty well coached team right now. 9.5 points at home against Navy. I'll take it. If Navy is really running the football incredibly effectively against Temple, and Temple isn't able to respond on the offense side of the ball, because Temple's run defense isn't good. All right, it's not. So this is a spot here where you're just like, all right, is the better coach team going to find a way to keep this close? I shouldn't say better coach team because Navy's also a good, well coached team, but I'm a little partial to Casey Keeler. So 9.5 points seems like a lot of points to me. So I'll take that. Give me Southern Miss -3. We've been riding them all year. Still think that the market is not high enough on Southern Miss. They're on the road against Georgia Southern. I think they have a coaching advantage. I think they have a quarterback advantage. I think they have a talent and roster advantage. The only thing that they don't have is that they're going on the road. And I know it's difficult sometimes in the Sun Belt to go on the road, but I think going to Georgia Southern is not as difficult as other places. Plus, Southern Miss in that division in the Sun Belt, like they can win that division. They can win that division. It's not like Old Dominion and James Madison are just like flying up there, and just like you have no chance. Like you are going to be in fights every single week to potentially have a chance, right, to play in that conference championship, which, by the way, is exactly what Charles Huff's Marshall team did last year. They just hung around. They stayed in it. And eventually found their way into the Sun Belt Championship and won it. So I like Southern Miss -3 here in this spot.
I don't hate this at all. Southern Miss has been a team that's been good for us. And why not go back? I'm gonna stay. I got a couple in the Big Ten. So my first one here: Purdue at Minnesota. Be the road team. Purdue is 9.5 point dogs. Would have loved to see that get over 10, and it just might. I'm not too worried either way. I think Purdue, they've been playing better football. I think Minnesota's a team that is very gettable. I understand it's their homecoming. The reality is they have not been great under PJ Fleck for their homecoming football games. It'll be a packed crowd there Saturday night, so good for them there. But listen, I think Brown, Maccabee, there's some talent there for Purdue. I think their D line. I think they start for Purdue's D line, who they've been efficient. They've been efficient. I think they get after Drake Lindsay and Minnesota. Minnesota does not run the football well. Their offensive line, they've been shuffling in and out. Drake Lindsay's a very, very good quarterback, and he will be a very good quarterback one day, probably in the NFL. But for now, I like Purdue plus 9.5. Purdue's waiting to get somebody, and they're going to get somebody in the Big Ten. I'm not saying they're gonna beat Minnesota here, but they are waiting, knocking on the door. And I think they keep it close here in Minneapolis.
Yeah, I really thought about that, and if that was over 10, I would definitely be putting it on the Dirty Dogs. But fortunately, won't be riding that one with you. But good luck to you. I think that I like that spot you're in there. I'll go with USC -2.5. That's one that we talked about earlier in the video, so I don't need to expand on that. But I like USC a lot against Michigan at home. And then UAB FAU over 69.5 points. I think the biggest total that I've ever bet on in this show. Um, yeah, that just screams 41-38, right? I mean, this game screams gigantic amounts of points. FAU, whose defense has been pretty terrible. UAB's offense, I think, has been pretty okay. FAU with Caden Veldkamp, like they're still putting up points, and they do it at a very fast pace. So I like the over 69.5, despite that total being astronomically high. Come on, just hear it out. All right, it's got a chance.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna stay back in the Big Ten here. Penn State rebound game. Penn State minus 21.5. I think this is pretty damn good value considering the talent on Penn State, considering the fact that James Franklin loves to cover and is kind of fighting for his name right now, and so is the rest of the Nittany Lion group. I think Northwestern's terrible. Obviously, they had a nice win at home against UL Monroe. UL Monroe is one of the worst teams defensively in college football, so that will explain some of the success there from Preston Stone. Preston Stone against good football teams was not good, has not been good at all. And Penn State, I understand they're battling injuries. I have to believe they are coming out fired up to play, and they need to win and they need to cover to start salvaging this season for Penn State. They're 0-2 in Big Ten play. They need they need to start turning around. I'll take the Nittany Lions minus 21.5.
Look, I hope you have better luck than me betting on Penn State than I did last week. That's all I can say. I'll go to the Mountain West. I'm going to take San Diego State, Nevada. I'm going to go under 42.5 in that game. You're looking at two teams that don't like throwing the football very well. Two teams that are playing a lot better defense, particularly two teams that can stop the run. Jeff Choate has always had those Nevada, this season and last season, always had those Nevada teams playing pretty frisky, tough defense. It's in Nevada, right? So does San Diego State really bring it on offense on the road? I'm not sure that they necessarily do, even though Sean Lewis is a great coach. I like that under 42.5, even though that's a pretty low total. Next one, LSU, South Carolina, under 44.5. I think a lot of you listening to this will probably understand why. LSU not playing great on offense so far this season, but their defense is playing really well. And with South Carolina, even though they put up some points against Kentucky, but come on, all right, we watched that game, all right. I think we understood what was going on there. I think this goes under 44.5 points. I think that's too many. I think we're looking at a 17-10. I think we're looking at a 21-13. 21-17, I think is a legitimately viable score as well. Let's just not make it 24-21. All right.
All right, I'm going to go to the Big 12 here, sticking with some unders. We've been familiar with Houston and Oklahoma State unders this year, and why not stick with that? They're playing each other here. I understand Wigman, he did get hurt last game, but he's supposed to be back fine. He's not going to practice a ton this week, so I think that bodes even better for what we're going to see here. And the game plan Houston's going to come out with, run the football, take care of the football, control time possession, churn out a win against Oklahoma State, a team that just did not look good against Arizona defensively, offensively, all that stuff. I don't think Houston has the passing game that Arizona quite has to take advantage of Oklahoma State's secondary. Zane Flores and whoever else they tried out there at quarterback just did not work. They couldn't run the football for Oklahoma State. I feel pretty safe here. I understand 46.5 is a smaller line. I get that, but I'll still be on the under there. I think this game's in the teens. If not, I wouldn't surprise me if Oklahoma State does not get over 10. So, under 46.5.
Yeah, I like that as well. I'm going to stay on the total train. I'm going to go San Jose State, Wyoming in Laramie. You're telling me that team that averages throwing the ball 35 plus times a game is just going to go in Laramie and put up points? 49.5 points. I love this number. Give me a Wyoming San Jose State game that's just ugly. All right. Under 49.5. All right. It's in Laramie. All right. It's hard to tell exactly what that win's going to be like, come Saturday, but it will be enough. I'm hoping for, even though I think I like that offense that they run there at San Jose State, but how many times have we seen offenses just die over there in Laramie? Just die. And I see that happening again this weekend. Last one of the day that I'm going to go with is Washington minus 10.5. I think Rutgers' defense, even coming off of a bye, I think is garbage. I think it is bad. I think Washington, even though they struggled on the coast with Maryland, you're asking Rutgers to go all the way. I mean, it is the furthest possible place you can go, from end to end, from coast to coast in the Big Ten. I mean, I guess LA would be further, probably a little bit, but holy moly. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be tough. I get they're coming off the bye week. I get Ethan looks good, right? He's played some pretty not good defenses. Like, oh, look, he looked great against Ohio. Oh, he looked great against Minnesota. Oh, good for you. Okay, I think this Washington defense is pretty decent. I think that Damon Williams and Jonah Coleman, I think that they're going to have a bounce back game. And I think that they'll put together 4 quarters of football and not just a fourth quarter like they did against Maryland.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I was really really considering that. No doubt there. I'm gonna stick with your couple of your logics there with travel in the Big Ten. Michigan State is hosting UCLA. Michigan State, that line dropped to 7.5. Get me all of that. Again, we talked about this a little bit off air. It's probably the best value you're going to get UCLA all season. Michigan State, well, first of all, I'll stick with UCLA. Like, I don't think that winning against Penn State is an indicative of their future success in this season. I think that was more about Penn State than UCLA. Nico had a couple of big time runs. He made a couple of really nice plays. I get that. I think Joe Rossi and Michigan State's defense comes more prepared to play in that football game than Penn State did. And Aiden Giles, man, on the road at Nebraska, had one of his worst games. And, they still almost won. They still almost won. I know what he's kind of injured and all that stuff. Even if he doesn't play, I feel fine. But I still like Michigan State in the spot. They were 2 for 14, right, on third down conversions in Nebraska. I expect that to get much better. 7.5 feels like a gimme for me. If I'm Michigan State, give me the Spartans minus 7.5. Rebound after a tough loss at Nebraska.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you're going to bet against UCLA, you are never going to get a better price probably than you are right now. Uh, but yeah, that's going to be our best bets for us. Let's head over to the Dirty Dogs. And if you're new here, all right, first of all, welcome. If you would like the video and subscribe, that'd be incredible. All right. Second of all, a Dirty Dog is a 10-point underdog or greater, and CDI and I are tasked with picking 2 each week. They can't be the same either, right? So we do this draft style. And because my Dirty Dog hit last week, that means I get the floor to start this week with the Dirty Dog slate. It's not looking great. All right. Last week we felt really good about the slate, and we did catch one. There were 3 Dirty Dogs that ended up hitting. It was UCLA, it was Ball State, and it was Arkansas State, and we hit Arkansas State plus 370. This week I did not feel as good about. In fact, I had Temple and Indiana on my list, both bet down under 10. So probably for good reason, because we were all over it. So I'm going to go with the first pick here. I'm going to take Rice plus 375. Not necessarily that I feel good about the matchup. I just think Rice kind of murks things up. And with an interesting offense that they run with Scott Abel, they're trying to shorten games. They are, of course, going on the road, but it's not like a super far travel over there to San Antonio. Like 3.5 hours, 4 hours probably drive. So, yeah, it's a 12.5-point spread. We can get this money line at plus 375. I'll take it. And again, don't feel really good about this slate the same way that I felt last week.
Yeah. I mean, we go back to the well, right? I mean, it's not terrible value there. Getting Rice as 12.5-point dogs. I'm gonna go to the MAC. We've talked about how dangerous it is to be a 10-point favorite in the MAC here, and there's Miami, Ohio, 10-point favorites on the road in Akron. You've got an Akron coach, maybe coaching for his job. You've got Ben Finley still playing college football. The emergence of running back Jordan Grant, and they really fed him 32 carries just a week ago. And Miami, man, I still don't trust that offense. I understand Daquan Finn and everything he brings. It hasn't been efficient. They've been really working him with throwing the football and running the football and all that stuff. It hasn't been crisp offensively for Miami. on the road, man, you can get got here at plus 375. I'll take the Akron Zips here to get a win over the Miami Redhawks.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, you know me. I am number one advocate of taking MAC teams as 10-point underdogs at home, right? Anytime. I mean, it's just, it happens so often. I mean, last week, East Michigan, I think that closed at 10 points, but it it went to overtime. I thought Eastern Michigan. I literally I wasn't watching the game, but I checked my phone, like thinking that Eastern Michigan won. Oh, Buffalo came back won.
Ball
So
State got a win too.
uh yeah, and then Ball State, another one at home, 10-point underdog. So yeah, I like that for you. I'm gonna go with another one. I'm gonna go to the SEC. Like I could take the Boston College at home against Clemson. You know, could get really stinky with NC State against Notre Dame. The Virginia Tech against Georgia Tech is also an interesting one on the road. I'm going to go with Arkansas plus 380. Bobby Petrino time, right? I I don't hate it. I don't think this team's given up. I think Taylor Green is still dangerous. I know that this is a revenge game for Tennessee a year ago, but I still think, and I gotta believe, yeah, this Arkansas defense will be giving up a large number of points in this game. But how many does Arkansas get back? Right? Tennessee's defense, I don't think it's as good as I thought it was going to be entering the season. I know that they're dealing with injuries in their secondary, but it doesn't feel like it's as good as what especially that front seven. I thought it was going to be better. So I kind of like Arkansas here plus 380.
Yeah, I mean, they did it last year. Why not? Plus Bobby P, man. Bobby P. First game as interim coach. That'll be fun there. You know he'll have a plethora of tricks in store for the Volunteers. I'm going to head to the Mountain West here. New Mexico on the road against Boise State is 16.5-point dogs at plus 570. Pretty stinky, I understand that. I know Boise's looked good the past couple weeks. Obviously, handled business against App State. And obviously, they hung with Notre Dame for a solid piece of time there. Got late, ended up kind of losing that backdoor cover against Notre Dame. But New Mexico's a dangerous football team, man. It's a good coaching staff. You've got a nice quarterback there with Lane. I don't think Boise State can take advantage of the secondary of New Mexico. That's given them problems this year. You've got Jack Lane playing good football for the Lobos. Why not get a statement win in the Mountain West? First year head coach, New Mexico plus 570.
Yeah, that'd be pretty nuts. Not that Jason Eck would be getting talked about for other jobs, but like, man, wouldn't that made me feel good because that was a guy we were super high on in this offseason when we were going through the cycles and like grading out, head coaching hires, and it's like, oh, they did such a good job. We gave them an A when they hired Bronco Mendenhall, and then they lose him after one season. Like, oh, where do they go? And Jason Eck, man, he is awesome. He is awesome. I love everything about that guy and that program. So excited to see what they got over there in Albuquerque. That's going to do it for us. That's our Week 7 preview with the game previews, the best bets, and the dirty dogs. Make sure if you've made it this far and you like the content, just like the video, it's a pretty easy rule that we have. And then also, if you've made it this far, you might as well subscribe, right? Because that means you probably enjoyed what you were listening to. Maybe you agree with us, maybe you disagree with us. Let us know in the comments. But I just think you're going to feel better if you subscribe. It really doesn't, it's not that much work for you at all. You just got to hit a button. It's no big deal. And then we can both move on with our lives and keep talking and watching college football. CD, anything for us on the way out?
Yeah, appreciate you guys. This was a longer episode, a lot to talk about, a lot of big stuff going on in college football right now, obviously on the football field. A great, exciting weekend. Excited to see it starts actually Wednesday this week. Starting to get into more of your midweek stuff, man. Open up that calendar during that week. So big, big games on Thursday for the American, as well as obviously Friday. We talked about the headliner down there in Denton, Texas, and of course a full day of slate of games on Saturday. Appreciate you guys for tuning in to us. As always, make sure you like and subscribe and all that good stuff.
And we'll see y'all in the next one.